So guys, today I'm going to teach you exactly how I went from $0 to $15 million online, not just for myself, but also for my clients as well. Now, I think what's really important here is focusing on the mistakes, what I've learned in my journey, which is ultimately going to help you not just make money online, not just scale your business, but more importantly, help you level up your game. Because what I've learned, team, it's not so much of a skill thing, it's more of a mindset thing as well, like a psychological barrier that most people that actually encounter going into this. For some context, some of you guys may know me, the king of sales, featured in Forbes, Today Show, worked with 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs, A-list celebrities. And what I've learned working with these successful people, it's a skill thing, but more importantly, it's a psychological barrier that most people they encounter that stops them from actually producing success online, offline, whatever business that you want to run or start, okay? So I went from a point in my life, this was let's say 10 years ago now, where I was actually living in my car. So I went through an incredible time in my life. I was stuck in the rut. I was going through from job to job. I spent about $70,000 on courses. I had a lot of things happen in my life, and what that led me to do is I was living in my car. I had all my furniture, all my clothes in boxes, literally in the back of my car. And for me, that was the pinnacle, that was the point of my life where I was at the lowest I've ever been before. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but it's not easy. It's actually quite daunting and scary. And I guess for me back then, the main thing that kept me going, it wasn't so much people around me because I had no support. It was more so the vision of who I wanted to become. What's important is if you're building a business, or if you're starting off in your own terms, or your own self, or your own education, you're always doing two things. You're building the business that you're currently in, and you're building a future business that you want to obviously build. The same thing with your identity. Like when I start building myself up, because I built myself up quite big back then from a psychological point of view, I was building myself who I am back then, the skills I had, and I was also building the skills of the person that I wanted to become. See, that's key, team. It's key to really start focusing on that. See, back then, the thing that kept me going, it was the vision that I had in myself. Now, a lot of people today, they get stuck because they think about building themselves up. They think about a skill, they think about a mindset thing they need to learn. But you gotta remember, every time you're learning a skill, or every time you're wanting to obviously enhance your mindset or build your business, you're doing two things. You're building the business that you're currently in, and you're building the business that you want to become. And every decision, especially in scaling something, it has to come from that same mindset. You're looking at the current infrastructure that you currently have in your business, and then one that you want to scale as well. So that's really important. Now, for me back then, I had two strong beliefs that helped me go through everything. Because when I was living in my car, I was literally at rock bottom. I remember the exact day I went to, it was like 7-Eleven back then. I really wanted to go to the gym, and I haven't been to the gym in a long time. It's probably been, like 2 weeks. I didn't even train. So I was unshaven, I wasn't looking fresh, I wasn't looking good, and I wanted to go to the gym. So I took out everything out of my car trying to find the pre-workout. I finally found it. It was in the back seat. And I was trying to find a cup. There was no cups, unfortunately. So I went to the service station, I walked in, I grabbed a free cup, I thought it was free, and the guy stopped me and he said, "You gotta pay for that." And I said, "Sure." So I went to the counter, I gave him my cup. He said that's gonna be like $2 or something. Tried to pay, I went to pay, and nothing worked. Everything declined, which for me, that was my rock bottom. The one thing that helped me get through was my belief structure, because what I realized is back then, I didn't have the belief structure that I had now. So I had to build a belief structure for myself when I was hitting rock bottom. And sometimes, team, that's what you have to do. You need to build the identity of what you want to build, imagining that it's already here, it's already done, and that's the person you're creating, and you're going to believe that inside of yourself now. So I had two beliefs. What I realized is this: there's always a wall, right? There's always a wall just here. And what I believe, everything in life has a wall, and it's that fear. It's that discomfort. And I really believe everything that you ever wanted is always on that other side of discomfort. Now, most people, they find discomfort, they actually face discomfort, and then they just stop, they pause, and that's it, that's done. You gotta embrace the discomfort, because for me back then, anything I would have done living in my car, it would have been uncomfortable, because it's something new. It's trying to make money. Like, it's so many things. So I had to go back to what worked for me. And then what I realized is that second belief that I wanted to keep strong to myself was nobody's coming to save me. And that's actually an amazing thing. Because many times in life, we're not accountable. We don't have responsibility. We feel like we've got someone that we can just fall back on. We feel like we have a friend. a family member. If everything goes pear-shaped, we can just rely on someone. See, back then, what I realized is not having my family close to me, not having friends close to me, I actually had no one to go fall back onto. And I think that's really powerful, because if you change your mindset and think, okay, if this doesn't work, I'm fucked. You're gonna do everything you possibly can to make it happen. And that was the second belief I had. What I wanna cover now is 5 main mistakes, okay? 5 main mistakes that I've learned in my journey that's gonna really help you not only potentially make money online, you know, for me, $15 million online, King of Sales, Forbes, but more so help you level up your game, transform your game. And if you can just take one mistake from these 5 mistakes I'm about to teach you, take it, learn from it, use it, and evolve from it, that could just change the whole direction of your game. So the first mistake, not enjoying the wins along the way. And it's funny, you're probably thinking that's quite obvious. Now, for me, there was a specific time in my life, I remember exactly. I was 17 years old. I've already worked at the 4 best restaurants in the whole entire world. So I worked at a restaurant called Rockpool, Attica, a restaurant called Noma, and I worked at all these incredible restaurants, 3 Michelin star restaurants, the best of the best. You cannot get better at working at these places. So I was at the top of my game. And I met this guy at an event, it's like a Tony Robbins event, and I sat down with him and he said, "Are you grateful for what you've achieved?" And I said to him, "I haven't really achieved much." And he stopped me and he said, "Dude, you need to celebrate the small wins. Because if you don't celebrate the small wins, there'll be no big wins." And what I realized back then is I was chasing a mountain, and every time I got to the top, I kept looking at the next mountain, but I wasn't grateful that I climbed the mountain I just climbed. See, there's a big lesson in there. Because success without that fulfillment, without that joy, it means nothing. Now, for me now, right, in my life today, from the businesses that I have, that I run, the partnerships that I have, you know, let's say, for example, we do $1.5 million a month. See, you need to enjoy doing 10K per month, and then 20, and then 50, because as you keep going up, if you don't have that sense of fulfillment, and if your fulfillment is tied to the money that you bring in business, you will always be unfulfilled, because that's always going to change. Businesses change, marketing changes. So what's important is you've got to celebrate the small wins along the way. And that could be from just a sense of reflection, looking inwards, just being grateful. I mean, this stuff's really mediocre, but many people don't do it. You'll be surprised. A lot of people online, what they do is they just follow a lot of successful people. They think, why can't I have that? And trust me, when you do have that, then you want something else. Like, when is enough enough? So the first mistake that I made quite early on was I never enjoyed the small wins. And that really set me back, because I kept trying to find that sense of emotion that was inside of me that I could have just felt back then. So that was essentially my first mistake that I made. So for you, taking that away, it's important just to celebrate the small wins. The last thing you want to do is, let's say you're working in sales, for example, that you keep chasing the next close, and no close will be good enough, okay? So that's number 1. Number 2, and I think this is really key, consumption without execution will ultimately lead to self-sabotage. Now, there's a lot of people in the space where they want to keep learning, and I fell in that trap a long time ago. I kept spending money on courses, I kept spending money on programs, kept going to coaches, and I literally spent so much of my time going from one person, from one mentor, from one program, from one agency, and got to a point of like, when will I know enough to execute? Now, there's people in my life right now today, they haven't jumped off the course train yet. They're still going to courses, and I love doing courses. I just spent, $30,000 on a mentor. Like, I'm all about courses. But if that's gonna be the block for you, that keeps stopping you from taking action and executing, you're never gonna find success. If you can just change your mindset of, okay, I know enough, now it's execution. Because for me, team, the best lesson I can give you right now, if you wanna write this down today, like just write it down right now watching this, is you wanna build the plane while you're taking off on it. Progress over perfection every single day. You wanna chase progress, you wanna chase momentum. You can't chase perfection. Many people, they think, I need to do another course, I need to do another program, I need to keep learning more. Guys, you know enough more than likely if you're watching this right now, especially if you're following myself. So just execute, go for it, learn, evolve. And that's how you're gonna find the joy of building a successful business. And the third mistake that I learned from building a successful business and being in business now for almost a decade is waiting for certainty. Now, most people in life, what they do, and by the way guys, I I get paid really well for what I do, not because of my handwriting. So waiting for certainty is my third mistake, because what I've realized, team, is many people, they wait for certain things to go right. They wait for the certain part in business, the certain thing that they're going to learn to get that certainty to take that next step forward. If I can challenge you right now, if you're listening to this today, you've got to find that inner certainty. You've got to find that step of courageousness that's going to be like, hey, hang on, I'm going to take action. I'm going to take a step. Even when I feel uncomfortable, I'm still going to make it happen. And that's where the trick is. I do so many things every day. And most days, every single day, I feel uncomfortable doing it. You can ask my partner. I always feel uncomfortable, but I know that's the game. See, I build that inner certainty in myself, especially if you're leading a team. Like if you have a team that you currently have, you need to wake up every day. You need to be that pillar, that foundation of certainty within your organization. You've got to find that certainty. When I was living in my car, I started building my private chef business. My private chef business, personal training business. I was doing closing on the side. And I've never done any private chefing for any single person in my life. But when I sat down with the client, they were making $300 million a year in property developments. It was crazy. And she sat down with me and she said to me, are you the private chef for us? I looked her in the eye and I said, I definitely am. Look at my resume, look what I've accomplished, when can I start? See, I built that certainty in myself to get that deal across. See, many people, they look for the certainty in the external things, but they should be looking for the certainty on how I can create certainty inside of myself so I can achieve the things I want to achieve in my life. So that's the third mistake. If you can take that away and build that certainty within yourself, then you're also going to be successful as well in your field if you can really focus on honing on that. The fourth mistake, it's people get so addicted to learning, but they don't execute. And I touched on this before, but I just really want you to understand this, right? In this world, people get rewarded by moving fast. Look at Mark Zuckerberg, achieved so many things, like one of the most successful entrepreneurs in this space. So for him, he says something that's quite renowned. He says, move fast that you break things. And I think that's key in life, especially in business. See, most things in life, when you do the thing, that's when you get the lessons. All my lessons come from my failures. I have a lot of failures. I fail every single day. But let me question you something, probably what you're thinking right now, is what is your relationship with failure? Because many people, they try to avoid it because that discomfort brings them maybe a sense of ashamed, embarrassment, whatever it is for you. Now, I think what's really key, guys, I want you to write this down if you can. What is your relationship with failure? Because if you can hone in on that and be okay with that, it doesn't matter if you're building a business for the first time, it doesn't matter if you're high-ticket closing, it doesn't matter if you've got an e-commerce brand. What is your relationship with failure? Because for me personally, I love it. I focus on the lessons and the growth post-failure. Guys, many people, they focus on the ashamed, they focus on the embarrassment when they actually start failing, and that's what's preventing you to fail more. So you've got to focus on not becoming so addicted to learning and becoming addicted to failing, because failing is as we're going to get lessons. Like if you ask any successful person, what was the main lesson you got from your success, they would be a bit strapped because they're like, well, success, what are the lessons, right? But if you ask someone, what are the main lessons you got from your mistakes, that's when it forces you to grow, to pivot, to change, to adapt. Do you guys follow? So that's really important. So write that down. And the fifth one, what I think is the most important one, was back then for me, especially going through living in my car, early stages of business, and especially where I'm now, one of the most important things which many people don't actually speak about, and for me, bringing this to your awareness now, I really want you to take this in, because if I learned this back then, I'd be a lot different in my headspace in business. I only learned this lesson, a couple of years ago now. So I want you guys to really lean in and tune into what I'm about to say. So the fifth one, which is the most important one, is don't tie your self-worth to the business up and downs. That's important, because many people, when they start a business, when they start making money online, when they start scaling a business, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve right now, business is like waves, guys. It's up and down, it's left and right. Some days you're crushing it, next days everything's failing. So you got to have your mindset in a way that you are here and your business is here. Yes, it's integrated. Like people ask me all the time, do you have balance in your life? And I say, for me, balance is like unity. Everything's in one. Business, life, relationship, health, I am one. I don't need balance because I'm fucking integrated, how I live my life. But for me, I think business is here and then I am here in terms of how I think about my self-worth, because I have my block of skills. You know, I'm a block of what I do. I've got my achievements, I've got my success, I've got everything, my resume, everything I've done and built in the space for the last decade now, it's here. But then I've also got business day in day operations. See, if you do it the other way around, have everything in one, you could be a closer. Let's say you're making 50K a month as closing, which some of my best closers are. You could be doing really well. And then for a fact, you have a bad day. And that bad day throws you off to the point of, what am I doing? Is everything affecting? Everything's going downhill. You've lost momentum. But if you can turn those bad days into great days by having a different perspective shift, that will help you build momentum a lot quicker. Now, for me back then, if I learned that skill and had that mistake happen to me early on, again guys, what I'm teaching you today is for you to really grasp on so then you don't make the same mistakes I made. If you can disconnect that and have yourself here and have your business here or your skill set here, it's going to stop the downward spiral. If you have bad days, bad weeks, bad months. I've seen too many people throw in the towel right before they're about to get success. You know, if you can really hone in, be consistent, and get results, that's going to help you. But you can't connect your self-identity, self-worth to what you're currently doing to make money. It's super important, okay? For me to wrap this up, what I really want to touch on now is we are in a value economy. Now, I listened to a podcast recently. It's a guy called Jack Ma, built Alibaba. You know, and I think it's a very great lesson I learned. And I'm loving it because in this space right now, there's 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old coaches, life coaches, business coaches, and never built a business, and they technically haven't had much of a life. It's so interesting. There's relationship coaches that are like 19 that have been single for the last 19 years. And we're in an interesting time. And for me, I'm a really big believer with my journey is I got really good at learning skills, okay, and adding value to the market. Now we get paid on the value that we give to the market. That's obvious, that's evident, you know, but how often would you go out and actually spend a whole day learning a new skill, refining a skill, building a skill set so that you can add more value to the market? See, most people, they're looking for a quick fix, right? They're looking for, how can I quickly make 10K per month online? It's kind of like a cat. If you want to feed a cat, do you chase the cat? No, of course not. The cat's going to run away. You know the best way to feed the cat? You grab a bowl of water or a bowl of food, but you put it at your feet and the cat will come. It's the same thing with money. If you kind of chase money, the money's not going to come to you. But if you add more value, if you fill up your bowl of value, bowl of skills, money's going to flow to you. See, it's about having the abundance mindset, and that's really key. Obviously, I didn't go into the strategy part of it, but I wanted you guys to really understand just 5 mistakes that I've learned that's going to probably help you really evolve your skill set, your business, just by implementing those 5 things today. That could seriously be the perspective shift for you in your life moving forward.